she do? Oh, she do. Yes, she does. Don't let me down.
Hey everybody, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to play Don't Let Me Down by the Beatles on electric guitar. And this is mostly going to be exactly what George Harrison would play on the recording. But since on the recording, you have your drums and bass, laying out the foundation. And then for the rhythm part, there's George Harrison, but there's also Billy Preston playing, I think it's a Fender Rhodes, but it's like an electric keyboard. And those two parts are really heavily intermingled. And rather than show you exactly what George Harrison is playing, I thought I would show you how to fill up as much space as both of those parts. So we're going to be doing all the iconic stuff, like all of the and the, all that stuff. But we're also going to add a couple of those keyboard parts basically and put them in a pretty simple way onto guitar so that you can create a full part. And, if you do end up playing with a keyboard player, you can just play less of this stuff, just exclude a few of these parts and you'll be able to make it happen. So this is basically what they would do on the recording, plus a little extra just to fill up the empty parts. Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is the isolated tracks, came out like probably 10 years ago, and you can hear just George Harrison's guitar part on this song really clearly because it's like, super loud compared to the rest of it. So if you are interested, I'll put a link down below just because it's pretty cool to check out. And I actually transcribed it before I found that, but after checking it, it's like, yeah, we're good to go. Anyways, if you need any help, I have a free ebook. It's completely free for all my subscribers. Has all the basics of lead guitar in there to help you build up your technique. So if you haven't gotten your copy yet, please check that out. Otherwise, we're just going to jump right in and we're going to learn that main riff. So this riff uses a technique called double stops. This is actually the riff that I learned double stops from myself, so it's really good for figuring it all out, where you basically hold down two notes at once. So in this case, I'm holding down the 9th fret of the A string and the 9th fret of the D string, just with the tip of the pad of my index finger. And then I strum both those strings. And I'm actually lightly touching the G string with my middle finger. That way, even if I accidentally get that string, it won't sound out. And then the next part is to do a hammer-on just one of the strings. So I'm hammering on the A string from 7 to 9, but I have to angle my hand like quite a bit to make sure that there's enough clearance underneath my ring finger. Your ring finger has to be curled enough that that string remains open. So the first thing you want to do is get used to that, playing the 9th fret of the A string and D string together and then hammering onto the 11th fret of just the A string and making sure that they both ring out. And we're going to learn this lick in a few parts. Ignoring that first note, which is just the open E string. That's easy enough, right? Next, we have that double stop I just showed you. And that's followed by the 9th fret on the D and G string. So our index finger just has to shove up a little bit. And I would practice just that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. From there, we're going to keep our index finger on the 2 middle strings at the 9th fret, and we do a double stop. It's a pretty quick one. It's the same concept though. We're hammering onto the 11th fret of the D string, and our finger is playing the 9th fret on the D and G string. So we want it to be nice and curled, and we go. So we do that quick hammer on, and then we just play those 2 strings. And the final part, we're going to put our index finger back on the A and D strings, and we go. So for that, I'm playing those 2 strings together, then I'm putting my pinky on the 12th fret of the A string, and you got to curl it enough so that the D string remains open, and then ring finger. the top note is staying the same the entire time, right? It's just that bottom note that's changing. Now I'm going to play through the whole thing super slowly, like in stop time. We're not going to have any rhythm. We're just going to go through the elements of it. So practice those 3 parts, and then we can put it together rhythmically, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that lick happens over the E chord. And if you are not familiar with how the song goes, I have a simple version of this where I show you just the chords and strumming. And it's a good idea to be familiar with that just so you know how the whole song goes, because here we're just going to be focusing on the guitar parts more specifically. Anyways, that happens over the E chord, and now over the F sharp minor chord. On the recording, he does something like, just something really sparse and rhythmic, because the Rhodes is taking over, the keyboard is filling up all that space. But we can kind of emulate what the keyboard does instead, going. And that is based around an F sharp minor bar chord using the A minor shape. So we're playing the bar chord up here at the 9th fret, and these 3 fingers are making the same shape as an A minor chord, and you just move it way up there. We're on the 9th fret, 9, 11, 11. My middle finger is playing the 10th fret, and then the top of the base of my index finger is playing the 9th fret also. That's the bar. And we start out going root, strum. So a strum that just aims for the thicker strings, that's root, and then a full strum. And then we lift off our pinky finger, which unveils this note right here, the 9th fret. That's the 7. This is a minor 7 chord now, F sharp minor 7. And we just kind of go between having our pinky off and on. I'll just walk you through exactly what I'm playing. I go root, down, then I lift my pinky, and I go up, I play a downstroke, I pull off with my pinky, but you could also just remove it and do an upstroke, up to you, and then I put my pinky back on, it's off, and then down, up. So you can see at the top there, it keeps on switching between 11 and 9. You can see in the tab, and I've kind of grayed out the rest of the tab just so you can focus on that one note. So just take your time, the strokes, the counting, it's all there. I'm going to play through it super slowly now. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And then we have one more measure of F sharp minor, and for that we can just do some strumming. We can just go. And for that I'm going. So that's a downstroke where I press the strings and then I let them go really quick. So just a really staccato or short chord. And then I pick the lower notes, which is a root strum. So short, root, just downstrokes. And if that's too much, you can just hold the chord and you can just go down, root, down, root, down, root, down, root. And that sounds really good too. So all in all, 2, 3, and a 4, and a. So we alternate that with that super famous double stop lick, and that gives us the chorus. We're gonna play through all of this stuff at the end. For now, let's just keep learning more licks. The next one is the verse, and it starts with the vocals going nobody ever loved me like she. And then on does, that's where this riff starts, and it goes. And that's a pretty long lick. So once again, we're going to break it down and learn it in parts. The first part goes, and these are once again considered double stops. We're playing 2 notes at a time. And this lick starts way up here at the 14th fret on the thinnest string, on the top 2 strings. And something that's really important to note is that when I press those 2 strings, I'm putting my index a little higher than it needs to be so that it can mute the G string. We start on the 14th fret and we slide down to the 12th fret. And then we play it short. So in the second part, so there I slid from the 12th fret down to the 9th fret, and then I hit the 9th fret again, but this time long. Now we play the 10th fret of the B string with just our middle finger, and that gets us ready to put our ring finger down on the 11th frets of the 2 middle strings, the D and G strings. And then we slide it down to the 9th fret. So far I want you to practice 3 parts of this, going 14, sliding down to 12, and then a short hit on 12. Then 12 down to 9 and doing a long ring out on 9. Then 10, so the 10th fret of the B string, and then the 11th fret of the 2 middle strings, sliding down to the 9th fret. From there, the second measure of this lick, we're at the 9th fret, and we basically play it 3 more times. We slide down to the 6th fret, and then we play it 2 times. And this makes a bit more sense rhythmically when we include that previous little bit going. I want you to just take a look at it. You know, the actual techniques of it they're not the easiest, but it's not too bad. You know, it's not like you're playing a bunch of like. So yeah, count that out, and then we can start to glue it all together. I would put together those first 2 parts going. And then I would go. And then I would work on that connection from here to there. So for that, I would just work my way a little bit into the second half, going. And then I would get 1 more note. And go down to that one. And once you're there, it's not too hard to put the whole thing together. Let's do it nice and slow. 3 and 4 and. And now once you get to that point, there's still one other bit. We're going to put our first finger barring the top 4 strings. That makes an E major 7 chord. And then our ring finger goes on the 6th fret of the D string. And we hammer to the 7th fret with our pinky. We don't need to hold the bar anymore. Our index finger can press the 4th fret of the G string. So just practice those 3 notes. We hammer with our ring to our pinky on the D string, 6, 7, and then as we still hold that note with our pinky, we press the 4th fret of the G string. Then we're going to pluck the 7th fret of the D string again. And now I'm going to play this shape. This is a triad. My ring finger is on the 6th fret of the D string. My index is on that same place, the 4th fret of G. And my middle finger is on the 5th fret of the B string. And those 3 notes are part of a triad. They're part of a bar chord. 3 notes out of it. And we just go. So I'm just descending. B string, G string, D string. All in all, So take a close look at when I let go of certain notes. And now we'll add that little chord in front of it. 3, 4, 1, 2. And we're going to put this all together at the end of this lesson, like I've already mentioned before. So let's push forward and let's take a look at the next one, which is in the bridge. You know, the I'm in love for the first time. And this is a lot easier than the other two licks that we already learned. It goes like this. So we start off with the thickest string a couple times. I like to palm mute it. You can play it open, whatever you like. And then we're going to the 2nd fret of the D string. I'm using my middle finger. And we go 2, 1, and then we come back to that note. We're going to keep coming back to this note. So for that we played the 2nd fret of the D string and then the 4th fret of the A string. And then so there, I played the 2nd fret of D, and then I rolled my middle finger down, played the 2nd fret of A, and then back up to that same note, and now the 4th fret of the thickest string. And then for this part, I like to use my index finger to play the 2nd fret of the thickest string. So basically, we're playing little 2-note groups, and the first note of each group is this note. And then we come back up to this note, and then we roll it down to the 2nd fret of the A string to start our next little bit of our riff. And this part, that's just a B7 arpeggio. So we have the 2nd fret of the A string, and now on the D string, 4, 1, and then the 2nd fret of the G string, and then the 4th fret of D. Now we come up to the 6th fret on that same string, on the D string, and we slide down, and then play the 2nd fret with our index. It doesn't have to be like a crazy exaggerated slide. It's just a little one. Just him going from this note to that note, and the slide kind of just happens because he's moving quickly enough. From there, it's a bit of a pattern. We go on the D string, 4, 1, 2, and then the 4th fret of the A string, back to the 1st fret of the D string. And then we play that whole lick again. And that's followed by our first riff, the main riff. I'm going to play chorus, bridge, chorus, verse. And that is an actual segment of the song. That's basically the middle part of the song. So that way we're going to get a chance to go between each part of this. I'm going to do it super duper slowly. If you want a full playthrough, I have that on my Patreon page where I go start to finish through the entire song using all of these licks. I also have one for the acoustic version if you just want to play and sing it. So let's just try this out. We're going to start out with the chorus, and you can always just watch this, see how it goes, and then try it after. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
And if you can do that, you can definitely make it through the entire song. You just have to repeat certain parts. Once again, that's on my Patreon page if you want to see me playing through the entire thing with a backing track so that, it's really easy to feel the whole song and you can see everything and see where you are within the song. Either way, that's Don't Let Me Down on electric guitar. I recommend now taking a listen to the isolated track. I put a link below in the description and you can hear George Harrison playing through the entire song. It's a bit more sparse than what we did because, once again, Billy Preston is playing a Fender Rhodes, playing some keyboards, and they're like together, they're filling up that rhythm, right? So they're leaving space for each other, whereas what we did today takes up more space because chances are you don't have Billy Preston or somebody playing keys with you. And if you do, just exclude some parts, instead of going like, just go, or just some strumming, like something really simple, right? If you're at the point where you can play something like this, it shouldn't be too hard for you to adapt in those ways by simplifying parts. You're not adding more, you're doing less. So it's not going to be too tricky, right? And that's your job as a guitarist in a band, is to be able to kind of, hear what the music needs and what it doesn't need. And this is, by listening to that isolated track and listening to what we play, you can definitely hear the difference of taking up more space versus taking up less space. So I recommend that. Otherwise, don't forget to get your copy of my lead guitar ebook. Has all the fundamentals of lead guitar, so that you can build up into something like this and have a fun time practicing. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more stuff like this. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and yeah, I'll see you soon.